FOMO, Wells only and his guests are not responsible for any losses you may accrue for having weekends. Where the haters at? Y'all bitches still ain't showed up. And now, right, we got Hex, flawless uptime. People thought this was a joke. Now they're mad at the chart. It's lullaby music, really, right? It's hard to believe that something like this exists. I get it, but you just gotta come to terms with reality. It just exists. Nothing we can do about it. Buy a steak and chill, baby. Shout out to Marcus Wells only. Glad you guys can make it out. I'm making some claims that are pretty outlandish, but I can back them up. Boom. End of story. There is no other crypto out there, so don't get it twisted. If you don't understand where you're parking your money, you're gonna pay the consequences for that, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. Boom. We're obliterating everybody, literally. There is nobody else that comes close to what Hex has done. Boom. Oh, it's about to get funky. Funkier than you could have ever imagined. You know, Richard Hart is a boss. Hex is literally the best thing on the planet. It's simple mathematics. Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest. Yep. That's it. Yep. That's the secret. The Godwell told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. Shit, motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. I mean, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Y'all's deep. Everybody. My God. Ex-Asians, bro. Everybody. Australians, man. Everybody gets me. Yo, when it's a told you. Dollar told you. Everybody done told you. It's crazy. What's good, fam? Hope everybody's been doing well over the past week or so. As you guys see, the world doesn't slow down, it keeps turning, right? No matter what happens. I think the craziest thing that's happened in the past couple weeks is the fact that you don't hear anything about what's happened in Chile. You know, I don't know if everybody's aware, but Chile got fried just like Hawaii got fried. And what's really, really worrisome about it is how you're just not hearing anything. I mean, it's almost like they don't want you to know it happened. Right? It's a little crazy. And shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to share, because these are not complicated streams. You know, I dialed it all the way back because, you know, as I've tried to explain before, why do we even care that crypto exists? You know, why do we even care? Because the thing about it is that we're here, right? A lot of us are in too deep. And I think it's important to remember the actual why, right? Because every day there's a new reason as to why, but that's not, you know, I don't see people talking about the why ever. You know, and the why crypto is the only reason to be in it, because then why else are other people going to buy it? Like, what's the reason? And I think everybody has lost the plot with respect to that fact, right? Because that's a fact. Not an opinion. Everybody's here waiting for a bull market. Well, why the fuck are they coming here? What's the reason? They don't need to come here. Those are the types of things you guys need to think about. Because now the narrative is 30 trillions, $30 trillion supposedly waiting to enter crypto. Well, do you see 30 trillion doing anything to the market? I don't see anything happening. I just see Bitcoin going up and Ethereum going up. I don't see anything else. The shit coins are not going up with the rest, right? So what does that mean? Seems like they're being pretty specific with where those funds are going. And then the funny thing is, on top of that, is that the funds that you do see being opened up, they're not even being allowed to buy. And I've talked about this before. They're not being allowed to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, which is interesting. And what I mean by that is in their prospectus, meaning their investment guidelines, they can't do it. It's not something that they can do. So, but why does that matter? Well, the reason that matters is because if a client finds out, because they have to report this to their clients, the holdings and whatnot. If a client finds out that they're holding something that they don't want to hold, they could sue them. And I've talked about this before, for breach of fiduciary responsibility, and that's a egregious breach. Like that's on par with breach of first and second and third and fourth and fifth amendments. It's up there because the whole instance of everything that was based on things being handed over in a trust from one entity to another, and we're that other entity, we being humans. And that's really what the Bible's about. It's really a trust document, but it's been manipulated, altered, amended, flipped like a pancake, etc., etc. So the average person would not have an idea that that's what's actually going on there. Why would they? Right? It's been completely hijacked in essence. And these are the things you guys gotta be aware of. There's a lot going on, and it's not gonna slow down. It's only gonna pick up because guess what? It's election year. And that's really all it takes. You know, uh, it happens every year or every election year. Let me rephrase. It happens every election year, uh, on the spot. Without fail, without fail, without fail. It happens every year. Excuse me, every election year. Prohibition is so much more different than what we were told at the time. People would use. Sorry about that. I don't know if you guys are hearing that, but I couldn't hear myself think. Hold on, cause I lost something. Walking through Lahaina, 6 months up. All right. So yeah, guys. There's a lot going on. A lot of things that are meant to distract you, so you don't see what's going on. Um. Oh, and the false flag at the Super Bowl, right? Like I called that one. That was easy. Um. And they don't make it hard. They don't make it hard. It's just who's paying attention and who's not. Because, if you knew better, your ass wouldn't have been near the Super Bowl. Because it was obvious they were going to do something. So obvious that it even became like a common, like it even became expected. So expected that all they was able to do was what they did, which was not much of anything. Right? Because the Super Bowl is their thing. Like, that's their thing. That's not your thing. So for them to not be able to do anything is a good omen for us. right? That's what that means. Um, well, okay. Excuse me, guys. I'm still lining up the deck here. Of course, you guys know lots of good videos because the internet is wild, man. It is wild and it is wide open. So we're gonna get into it in a little bit, but of course, it's critical to remember that all of these videos, while they, show things that are out of the norm and non-mainstream and whatnot, it's important for you to realize what the purpose of these videos are, and it's for you to realize you need to keep an open mind, right? Because whatever you thought you knew, you don't know. You just don't know anything, and that applies to everybody, right? Because nobody's absolved from this realm. Um, some people like to think they are, but they're not. The Netherlands is on fire. People are pissed at a black dude from Harvard that did a black economist from Harvard that proved that police shootings are not racially biased. Now, my counter to him, because in New York they're not racially biased because everybody in New York is black and white or black and Hispanic. So clearly that ain't right, right? That don't add up. As far as it being racially biased, it can't be. If the cops shooting blacks and Hispanics are also black and Hispanic. Dun-dun-dun. And that's where it's like, yeah, duh, right? So, people don't pay attention to stuff like that. They just lose their minds because it doesn't fit the narrative, the narrative we're all taught. Because people don't realize it's not a color thing. It's a power thing. Always has been, always will be. And that's just the way it is. That's the way it's always going to be. Because apparently nobody cares. So hard to expect any change, just at least from my vantage point. Um, let's see, we're almost done laying this deck out. Here we go. Yeah, I had lost this, but then I found it. All right. Give me a second, guys, because I just want to find this. Okay. We're covered. Student. Yo, this shit crazy. Yeah, we're actually gonna start with this one because this is just I couldn't believe it. When students are being sensible adults, it's game over. Like, how dumb are you? But all right, let me lay this one last one on, and then we're gonna get with it. Enough yapping from me. Um, Glad to be back on it, but this first video is gonna be a little tough, so just bear with it, guys, because this is the reality that we're allowing to persist for whatever reason. I don't. I'll be ready to jump down an adult's throat when they're doing some fuck shit to a kid. So let's get some context here. And there's something you guys need to understand. All these Twitter handles, they might have their own agenda and stuff, right? So we're just taking the data, the information, and using it for our best purposes. We're not supporting any of these promoters or pushers of this data, right? We're using the data. That's what we're doing here. So for context, students in Clarkston or Clarkstown schools, uh, Clarkston Central School District. This is here in New York. I didn't even know that. Um, Begged the school board to reverse their bathroom policy, which allows males to use the girls' bathrooms and or locker rooms. Enjoy. This is America, 2024.
I'm here to express that I no longer feel safe within the four walls at Festa, and I feel that my freedom has been taken away from me. I have been waiting since second grade for swimming during school at Festa, only now to find out I am sharing a locker room with a trans female who may still have a penis. I do not feel comfortable being exposed to that, and I no longer feel safe. This has nothing to do with any being a bad person. It is simply that I do not feel mature enough to view any man's penis, whether they identify as a female or a man. A penis is a penis.
Private spaces are one of the most important things in a growing boy or girl's life. Private spaces we as children go to recognize the change within us and our body. Everyone should feel safe, but I and my fellow students are being forced to sign petitions to allow these things to follow through. It becomes bullying. You are not teaching me to be okay with who you are. You are pushing me to show my vulnerable parts to somebody I may not trust. But this is not a hate speech. This is a 15-year-old student who's affected by the decisions you push upon us. I am the child on the other side of this, and I and my friends want our sense of privacy to be valued by the higher-ups.
Central to this debate is the issue at hand of allowing individuals who are biological men or women to enter bathrooms or locker rooms that do not align with their biological sex. This practice leaves many feeling vulnerable and breaches a moral and ethical boundary, suggesting that those who identify differently should utilize single occupancy bathrooms. This stance is not rooted in transphobia, but in a concern for the safety and privacy of all students.
I'm filled with apprehension at the thought of using these facilities under existing guidelines. Policies, in my eyes, fail to protect our privacy and safety in spaces where we should feel most secure. The policy, which seems to have been adopted without a thorough consideration of its impact on the student body, leaves many of us feeling exposed and vulnerable. We need leaders who prioritize the well-being, privacy, and safety of every student. Leaders who are willing to listen, recess, and if necessary, reverse decisions that do not serve the best interests of those who have pledged to protect.
This policy change has sparked fear among a significant portion of our student population, particularly girls who now feel their safety and privacy are compromised. The idea that facilities should be accessed based on self-identification rather than biological sex is not just troubling, it's a blatant disregard for the well-being of students. To allow individuals into bathrooms and locker rooms that do not align with their biological sex is beyond discomforting. It is frankly lunacy and unacceptable. This isn't about denying rights or excluding anyone. It's about ensuring that every student's right to privacy and safety is upheld. What's currently happening is that our trusted board is in alignment with the degradation of the moral fabric of our community.
That is America, 2024. When you got motherfuckers online, on Twitter, pretending that they're doing some fucking high and mighty shit. Wake the fuck up. Like, people need to seriously wake the fuck up. We don't give a fuck about what you're doing on Twitter, bro. This is also one of the many reasons why crypto matters. So pretending that you have a clue on Twitter doesn't actually show that you do. Let's continue, because these are the dumb fucks that tell you how to wipe your ass.
People talk glibly about science. What is science? People coming out of a university with a master's degree or a PhD, you take them into the field and they literally don't believe anything unless there's a peer-reviewed paper. It's the only thing they accept. And you say to them, but let's observe, let's think, let's discuss. They don't do it. It's just, is it in a peer-reviewed paper or not? That's their view of science. I think it's pathetic. Gone into universities as bright young people. They come out of them brain dead, not even knowing what science means. They think it means peer-reviewed papers, etc. No, that's academia. And if a paper is peer-reviewed, It means everybody thought the same, therefore they approved it. An unintended consequence is that when new knowledge emerges, new scientific insights, they can never, ever be peer-reviewed. So we're blocking all new advances in science that are big advances. If you look at the breakthroughs in science, almost always they don't come from the center of that profession. They come from the fringe. The finest candle makers in the world couldn't even think of electric lights. They don't come from within. They often come from outside the breaks. We're going to kill ourselves because of stupidity.
Too late. Guess he's not paying attention, or it's an old ass video. I'm gonna go with old ass video. This is a week old update. Lahaina, Hawaii.
To the fires. It's so eerie. It's like in a movie. It's like a movie scene, or it feels like it's a war scene. These are places that I've visited for 25 years, places I worked at. I'm the only one here walking around. It's crazy. Everything's gone. Burned to the ground. It's almost unreal. It doesn't seem real. I used to work right here. It's all rubble. Ashes and rubble. I used to go to the ABC store right here. All gone. There's a boat stuck on the reef. It's so depressing. Walking through Lahaina.
The purpose of the prohibition is so much more different than
what we were told.
At the time, people were using alcohol to fuel their cars and their homes. So they were using it as energy. And they were creating their own alcohol. So it was a common practice to collect all your food scraps and ferment them in your home. And it was a completely renewable and easily attainable form of energy. And then they just banned it. They said you can't make it, you can't have it in your house. And they said it burns so cleanly. We wouldn't have any of the harmful environmental effects that we have today if we had continued this practice.
I've never heard that in my entire life.
Isn't that crazy?
Pour a little bit of moonshine in there.
That'll get you
What was
going real
that?
good.
Dude, that's wild.
Think about it. What we truly know is that the elites that were making those decisions were still drinking.
Yeah.
They were still drinking during the prohibition.
That makes so much more sense.
There's no money in that.
Dude, that's insane.
So what's interesting is that a while back, I figured out the prohibition definitely wasn't what we're told it is, right? That's pretty obvious because nothing is. And then once you hear something like this and you are familiar with moonshine or whatever, any of those types of liquors that come from the backwoods, Appalachia, all that, you know, if you know that is fuel. But to hear it put together like this, like, you know, you don't connect those dots when you just randomly hear it unless you're forcefully trying to connect those dots. So there you have it, folks. Proof is in the pudding.
In this video, this guy explains how the different types of clothing fabric can affect the body. Make sure you watch until the end and let me know what you think in the comments below.
So as it turns out, Nike is the most valuable clothing brand in America. But is there a secret that would put them out of business if everyone knew it? Probably. Wait until you see this. Now, the other brands that would be completely decimated as well include Gucci, Adidas, Louis Vuitton, Cartier, Zara, H&M, etc. And it's my opinion that they are all on borrowed time. Here's why. A woman named Heidi Yellen did a study about the frequency of different fabric. According to this machine, the human body has a frequency of 70 to 100 millihertz. In people with illness, that drops to below 50 millihertz. Now, Heidi's premise was that any fabric that has a higher frequency than that of humans is beneficial to humans. It raises your frequency, and any fabric with a lower frequency can cause, she believed, illnesses or disease. Now, someone who is nearly dead and very sick has a frequency of around 15 millihertz. So, how's Nike doing? What kind of fabrics do they have? Well, they use dry fit, which is a polyester microfiber, plastic. Well, the frequency of polyester is 10 megahertz, similar to a sick or dying person. When people find out that wool and linen both have a frequency of 5,000 megahertz, they might not want to buy overpriced Chinese plastic polyester clothing anymore. Not to mention the microplastics that come off of wearing polyester clothing, which unfortunately affect your hormones negatively. However, don't wear wool and linen together as they cancel each other out. That's what this machine studied, and interestingly, it also says this in the Bible. You shall not wear a garment of different sorts, such as wool and linen mixed together. Interesting.
Funny stuff.
Hey TikTok, welcome back to another video from Whole Health Market. I wanted to share with you guys an email that we received from one of our local clients regarding cancer and protocols that we use and recommend. And then I'll explain why, what I think is important, why we should relate this video to you guys. My sister's going to read it. She's a much better reader than I am.
All right, love these emails, love praise reports. It reads, I was diagnosed with HER2+ breast cancer in December of 2022. In January of this year, I learned that it was stage 4 with mets to the lymph nodes and lungs. My oncologist let me try my way, but the numbers just weren't going the right way. Additional mets to the neck and brain. On May 8th, I started hormone blockers and Herceptin and immunotherapy. I refused chemotherapy. On the way home after treatment, I popped into your store after a friend of mine who lives in Ponchatoula told me about you. I've always sought more natural ways to treat my ailments. You recommended that I take barley, omega, and Essiac, and recommended I purchase the olive oil. I was already doing the Joe Tippin protocol and doubled up. I also stopped using specialized hair shampoo and conditioner that contain saw palmetto. It seems that can inhibit or enhance hormone-driven cancers. My July 3rd PET scan showed improvements. The neck and lymph nodes are now clear, no mention of the left lung, and a reduction of half on the right lung, and a 1/3 reduction of the tumor in the breast. I'm told that likely the cancer is dead and that my body is clearing things out. I know I'm not yet out of the woods, but more than pleased that in only 2 months there is amazing progress.
Thank you, Rachel.
You're very welcome.
I was hoping to get this in one video, but I'm gonna have to do a second video to follow up and explain what I think is important about that particular email. So these are the products that she added to her regimen that she was already on from immunotherapy and Joe Tippin's protocol, which is fenbendazole. We suggested the barley, a fish oil, turkey tail mushrooms, and the Essiac, which is the Indian old ancient recipe for detoxification, which works for cancer. So follow me to the second video and I'll explain what my thoughts are on the whole situation.
Well, as you guys are becoming probably more aware of by now, it's apparent that cancer is man-made. Therefore, it's entirely reversible, just like anything else you do to yourself that's man-made. So, things to think about, guys. We'll keep it on pumping. Back on the invasion front, because the U.S. is being invaded.
So 50% of our hotels are migrant hotels right now, right? Holy shit, 50%.
This is in New York, people.
So if you pass by any of them, there's just like motorcycles and mopeds and delivery bikes outside, and you know a lot of people. First of all, they're working for DoorDash and these like delivery apps full time.
Yep.
Making full-time money while living for free in midtown hotels, some of them 4-star hotels, and the contracts for those hotels with the government were paying double rates per room, or close to double rates, right? Like I audited a few of them myself, and you know, you'd look up how much a room cost in like a Holiday Inn and FiDi, you know, during COVID or even 2019, and it'd be like $170 a room per night. And we're paying $300 a room per night now for it to be migrant hotels, right? So what you see is that we're just we're paying their rent for them to live for free in Midtown and spend their money on whatever they want, which is insane because New York City is so expensive and aspirational, and rents are really high, and we're all really working hard to pay our rents, but they get to live for free somehow, and we're even getting ripped off by paying double rates for their rooms, which is just an insane amount of incompetence and malfeasance on our government's part.
Yeah.
But you see them loitering.
Malfeasance, yes.
Yeah.
Incompetence, no, because they know exactly what the fuck they're doing.
Boom. I wish everybody would lean on that last point. There's no incompetence behind any of what's happening. To pretend that they don't know is to pretend that you're a fucking moron, because they sure as fuck know. They have no qualms in doing it in your face. And that's why I have a problem with people pretending like the shit's not happening. And what you can do about it is not fucking comply.
In this video, this lady speaks about how it's non-human entities walking among us in an encounter she recently had at the grocery store. Make sure you watch until the end and let me know what you think in the comments below.
Listen up, y'all.
I just want to preclude this by saying the main reason I'm playing this is because the final detail is not the first time I hear this detail in a human being. And then the messed up part is that it was like a 30 to 40-year time gap in me hearing this. So it's got me thinking that this shit is real. Let me try to turn the volume, but I don't think it's at max on my side, so it might be you. Let's see. Oh, nope, it's me. All right, we rocking.
There are beings that is walking this earth, and they are not human. I just came from Kroger's. I just got off of work. I went to go pick up a few items, y'all. I go to the bread aisle. Now, the bread aisle is super long. I'm at one end of the bread aisle. There's a guy that's about 3/4 of the way down in the bread aisle. He got a cart. I got a cart. He's looking at me. And you know how you can see out your peripheral that somebody's staring at you. He ain't just looking, but he's staring at me. I kind of look his way. He's still staring. I go ahead and I get my bread. I go back around the other way because I'm going to the international aisle to get some pasta and some other stuff. While I'm in the international aisle at one end, this guy comes around and he's at the top of the same aisle. I see him still looking at me. Now, mind you, there's a couple of things that I need to get out of that aisle. So the first part of the aisle, I grab what I need to grab and I go about midways down. He's at the other end. So he's staring at me still. So I kind of look at him and I go like, how do you give somebody that type look? He's still staring. So I'm looking for what I'm looking for. I can't really find it because he's throwing me off because he keeps staring. Mind you, this man don't have nothing in his cart. He's not even turned to look at any food. He's looking directly at me. By this time, I'm like, you know what? I'm not on it. I'm about to just stare you down. So I turn to look at him. Y'all, when I tell you, this man stared at me and his eyes turned black. Everything in his whole eyeball, not just the pupil, but the white part, turned completely black. He looked, it said black, and then he walked away. When I tell you I left that car sitting in that aisle, I didn't even buy nothing from Kroger's. I left out and I came home. There is stuff, there is beings that is walking in this earth, and they at the store, they at whatever, they look like us and everything else, but they are not human. I don't even know what to say.
Yo, she wasn't fucking making that up. If I'm a pretty good tell, she ain't making that up.
The government has ordered 30,000 guillotines.
This is from 2016 or something like that. Like, this is old too. This isn't even new. Let's see if they actually put that info in the context here. Nah, but this is from like 2014, 2016, something like that, like right before he left office.
What? Ain't no reason for a guillotine. What do you need a name another use? Name another use for a guillotine. No, you can't even think, what, watermelon cutting? What is another use for a guillotine? I saw this. Modern, it ain't the old, it's the modern guillotines. It look like a weight bench. Modern guillotines. So, what people, now, see what I'm saying? People say, well, that don't make sense to y'all. What's that for? Because we don't know that we already have the Noahide laws already passed in this nation. So what are the Noahide laws? We don't know because they passed this legislation while we was busy looking at the mass shooting. The Noahide laws state that the government can behead any person that is a Bible-believing Christian that says Jesus came in the flesh. Look up Noahide laws. Noahide. Noah, the man that got it from Noah. Yeah, Noahide. It was the Noahide. It's called the Noahide laws. It came from the Jews. It's in this law is in the nation. Let's go back to the book of Revelation when it says there are those that was under the altar that had been beheaded for the testimony of Jesus Christ. Don't nobody want to talk. Nobody want to think about this stuff.
You know what's crazy is that they do this stuff in people's faces. You know, it's not like they even hide none of this. They do it in people's faces. It's incredible. It's incredible. You know, the only thing we have to do is not comply. It's not even hard, but people have a fucking ridiculous time wrapping their minds around what that even means because they can't fathom not doing what they're fucking told by some cocksucker on TV. So, step one is sharing this stream so people can understand that there's other shit going on.
Whoa. Listen to this.
Besides what's on TV. A lot of people just are not tapped in. When I saw that video, like that, I don't know if you guys saw this tweet I posted about some black dude complaining about Albania and all this shit, how they are anti-black and all this. You know, Albanians are some of the coolest motherfuckers I know. And there's a ton of Albanian motherfuckers in the Bronx. And, you know, guess what? When you're in another country that's not like America, where people respect themselves, and you don't look like them, yeah, you a problem, bro. I don't know where you're from, but back in the day here, when you wasn't from the block across the street and you crossed over into that other block, somebody best to had known you. And Albanians roll just like that. And if you just don't know that, like if you don't know Albanians, you're gonna feel like you disrespected. So he ain't tapped in. You know what I'm saying? That dude don't know nothing. And that's why you just can't be running around, running your mouth online, because you're just going to show yourself an ass. Because now everybody that's tapped in knows that dude ain't tapped in. So, go figure. Let's keep it pumping. Federal investigation is looking for at least $75 million in missing silver and gold from a Delaware warehouse. Bet you didn't know about this one.
Whoa. Listen to this. You won't believe this. Federal investigation is looking for at least $75 million in missing silver and gold from a Delaware warehouse, but it was actually First State Depository. It was a bank, basically. And you know what they did? They took gold and silver that seniors were putting away for safekeeping. And they thought, well, these are technically deposits, so I guess we can take their deposits and just invest it. Yeah, they just decided to take their gold and silver and gamble with it. Yeah, this is what banks all over the country are doing. They basically gamble with our money. And then when they lose, they go, huh, man, things just didn't work out. I guess we need a bailout. Enough is enough. These people have lost their physical gold and silver. These seniors thought they were putting their trust in someone to protect their gold and silver. And what happens? It gets stolen. It gets taken. They literally, this is no joke. This is no joke. They put IOU notes in a plastic bag and said, oh, we took $1 million. We IOU, and wrote it down on a piece of paper. I'm not joking. Like and follow for more. I'm going to follow up on this story. I still can't believe this mess. Like and follow, more to talk about. Seniors getting tons of gold and silver just ripped off from them. More to come.
Crazy, eh? Mind your crypto knowledge, because a lack of understanding of the significance of custody is exactly why stuff like that happens to people. That's why people get rugged. That's why all these crazy things happen to people, because they don't understand the tenets of cryptocurrency. They're not really playing the game. They don't understand how to sustain and maintain value. Right? That's something you learn with time. It's not something you just wake up and do. Because if that was the case, well, none of you motherfuckers would be needing crypto. You would just already be rich using fiat. You would already have a significant amount of fiat. You wouldn't need crypto. So you really gotta be mindful of people that are always out here pretending to be chasing some coin that is promising to do something, when that's not what this game is about. This game is about finding that ace in the hole and plugging that motherfucker until you can't plug it no more. This is a long-term game. That way there is no way to lose. Very few people understand. They just pretend. They can't actually do the math and actually count. And these are the kinds of things you, the individual, have to be good at. It's not me that has to be good at it, it's you. And if you're not, good luck. So this guy puts up a video about how he used to pay $1 for a jumbo Jack in the Box, a jumbo Jack from Jack in the Box back in '94. $15 an hour you used to make as a laborer. That's 15 jumbo Jacks. Let's listen to the video.
Price! One jump! Okay, we all know inflation's bad. But I just went through the Jack in the Box drive-thru and it cost me $5.25 for one jumbo Jack with no cheese. $5! I used to pay $1 for a jumbo Jack. That's not twice the price. It's not 3 times. It's not 4 times. 5 times the price. One jumbo Jack. $5. Ah!
You know what's crazy? I remember being younger, now that I hear this guy crying about this shit, and thinking to myself, because I knew this was coming, because it already happened everywhere else. And that's the thing that's hard for somebody in America to wrap their head around when it comes to the monetary phenomenon that we're experiencing right now. People like me that understand it and can talk on it, we comprehend that this has already happened in other economic arenas. This is why we can't foresee it and call it and la da da, right? It's not rocket science. If it happened there, it's going to happen here, et cetera, et cetera. Because you can't pretend to make different moves that are not different and expect different results. You're not going to get different results. You're going to get the same fucking results because it's math, motherfucker. right? And that's why math is a religion. Now, look, guys, I can't really talk about exactly where I work, but what I can say is that I'm tied into the banking fabric of America. That's what I can say. So, when these banks fail and stuff like that, I'm going to be literally at the front seat. I have a front seat to all of that now, literally. Because you see, the way I operate is I like to be where the action is. I was going to do something else, but I decided against it because it was just too much overseas shit. And I just wasn't dealing with all that. I'm just not in the mood for all that. So I figured
there's going to be people of me.
Let's keep it domestic. And I did. So the public things I can talk about, the non-public things I can't talk about. And that's how I'll phrase that one. So if anything's active, I can't talk about it. And I won't talk about it. But I can speak in generalities, right? So, hey, you should understand that you don't get a job like this without actually understanding the banking system and how it works and all of that stuff, right? Important stuff to comprehend and wrap your head around. Because in the near future, you're going to need a point of information that you can reference, that you can understand and not have to search the internet for. All these people with their 3 letters and all these accolades that don't mean shit, such that they can't explain something in simple terms, those are not going to be the people that help you. These are those people right here. This guy right here. I mean, not really him, but I'm not even gonna talk about this guy specifically because he's really an embarrassment to reality. But let's just read the pretext here. The World Economic Forum, shaping a shared future, making the metaverse. The wealthy will be able to travel, but the poor will use virtual reality headsets to travel to the same place from their own couch. Let's listen in. Sounds like a dream come true for most.
There's going to be people of means who are going to travel.
People of means. I mean, this motherfucker went back in time to pull that phrase out the bag.
And then there's going to be people maybe who of lesser means who might actually be able to use.
This motherfucker said lesser means. Yeah, I'm sorry, man, but I can't. Oh, man, I can't.
Using an Oculus or a Magic Leap or some other kind of.
Hold on. Don't those things cost like hundreds of dollars or like thousands of dollars? I don't actually know because I'm not into none of that shit, so I don't really know. But aren't those things expensive as fuck too? So if you're marginally wealthy, meaning you make better than a living wage, and you don't live off of credit, right? You'll be able to afford an Oculus. But if you're like making 6 figures and you got like a lot of expenses and your credit is tapped, you ain't seeing shit. Yo, they don't give
device,
a fuck.
To travel to the same place, but from their own couch. But in many ways,
their own couch in the downstroke. Yo, son.
It's actually going to create even more distance between those two people. That psychologically, and I think that we've experienced this through social media. In many ways, it's brought people closer in certain ways, but actually created this remarkable divide because It's even more visible, actually, the divide. There's
I mean, I wonder if these people actually think before they speak. God, bunch of morons. All right, the power of copper, guys. Let's get it in. Oh, let's read all that. Why copper was used by our ancestors. Copper destroys undesirable virus and bacteria. Ancient Indians threw copper coins in rivers, lakes, ponds, and wells to destroy virus and bacteria. Ayurveda recommends storing water in copper vessels. Drinking water from copper vessels helps. Kills bacteria, virus and bacteria, stimulates the brain. Well, the brain has copper, as we recently discovered, made of copper and carbon. Regulates the functioning of the thyroid gland. Soothes arthritis. Boosts skin health. Slows down aging. Gets rid of anemia. Lowers the risk of cancer and, I guess I'm supposed to say heart disease, but it says heat there. Nope, that was a pointless video. Sorry about that. Oh, nice, we got a few more. All right, the Netherlands is popping off. And you know the usual suspects. I think we're good without the noise on this one, right? I think we know what sirens and shit sound like. So. Yeah. Think we're good just watching and talking on this one. I mean, yo, this is what I'm trying to tell people. Like, this is coming to your hood, neighborhood, suburban area, whatever. Wherever they can exploit any weaknesses, best believe they're working on doing just that. Like, they got nothing else to do. This is their mission because they know people are complacent and they will be able to get away with it. That's literally, if they feel like they can do it, they're going to do it. It's really that simple. Now, this is, you guys, this is the dude, the economist, the black economist that discovered that cop shootings are not racially biased. And as I mentioned earlier, like, they can't be in a place like New York or any major city where cops are not just white and people still get shot up. So, you know, it just like the math can't math in that sense. So, and yeah, The Hague is where the ICJ is. And what are they doing? What do they do during Rona? Not a fucking thing.
I collected a lot of data. We collected millions of observations on everyday use of force.
I actually know this guy very well. He's been a PhD for at least fucking a decade or more. Oh no, definitely 15 years at least.
Wasn't lethal. We collected thousands of observations on lethal force. And it was in this moment in 2016 that I realized people lose their minds when they don't like the result. So what my paper showed, you'll see tomorrow, like some of you, was that, yes, we saw some bias in the low-level uses of force, every day pushing up against cars and things like that. People seem to like that result. But we didn't find any racial bias in police shootings. Now, that was really surprising to me because I expected to see it. The little-known fact is I had 8 full-time RAs that it took to do this over nearly a year. When I found this surprising result, I hired 8 fresh ones and redid it to make sure. They came up with the same exact answer, and I thought it was robust. And I went to go give it, and my God, all hell broke loose. It was a 104-page, dense, academic economics paper with a 150-page appendix, okay? It was posted for 4 minutes when I got my first email. This is full of shit. Doesn't make any sense. And I wrote back, how'd you read it that fast? That's amazing. You are a genius. And I had colleagues take me to the side and say, don't publish this. You'll ruin your career. I said, what are you talking about? I said, what's wrong with it? Do you believe the first part? Yes. Do you believe the second part? Well, the issue is they just don't fit together. We like the first one, but you should publish the second one another time. I said, let me ask this. If the second part about the police shootings, this is a literal conversation. I said to them, if the second part showed bias, do you think I should publish it then? And they say, yeah, then it would make sense. And I said, I guarantee you I'll publish it. We'll see what happens. So it was, you know, I lived under police protection for about 30 or 40 days. I had a 7-day-old daughter at the time. I remember going and shopping for, because, you know, when you have a newborn, you think you have enough diapers, you don't. So I was going to the grocery store to get diapers with an armed guard. It was crazy. It was really, truly crazy.
So that was 8 years ago. That wasn't even recent. How about that?
Change over just 1 meter is depending on has a slight negative charge. But the higher you move up in the air, the less negative that charge gets until you get high up in the atmosphere. There's actually a strong positive charge. In fact, the voltage change over just 1 meter is around 100 volts. So I'm just going to fly my drone way up in the sky, and it's going to be hanging this copper wire below it. And then I'll be able to see if I can actually extract enough power from the air to be able to do anything with it. So after my drone's up in the sky, at the end of my wire, it's going to be around 10,000 volts. Ouch, shocked me. Okay, that's working. Holy cow.
Guess that answers that question.
Holy cow, that's shocking me. Don't mind the loud beeping in the background. That's just the warning that my drone's about to fall from the sky due to low battery as I frantically try to get my Franklin Bell set up to work. But then finally it started ringing like it was supposed to. The tab is bouncing back and forth due to the charge buildup on the camera. Depending on has a slight.
Hot mic. Let's hear what's going on here.
It does strike me that this is an issue, disinformation, misinformation, interference with the election that the government should be taking on. How many people do you have working on this issue, and how do you know what's enough?
So we have around 40,000 people working on kind of safety and integrity on our platforms. Generally, we spend a lot of money on it. We've spent about $20 billion in recent years on things like election integrity, about $5 billion in the last year alone. But here's the interesting point. You know, even if we employ double the number of content moderators that we have, actually, here's the irony. We're talking here about the risks of AI-generated content, but AI is also actually our most powerful tool to identify and deal with the kind of content we don't want to see on our platforms. So take hate speech, for instance, the prevalence of hate speech. In other words, the percentage of hate speech as a percentage of the total of content on Facebook is now down to about 0.01%. And that's been reduced by over 50% just in the last couple of years alone for one reason only.
Man, this guy's doing so bad.
It's important for your viewers to know that, yes, of course, there are issues and concerns about how this technology is going to be used for bad purposes. It's ironically also the same technology that helps established players from making sure that their policies are being properly respected and enforced.
Horrible. Horrible. That was horrible. Oldie but goodie. Why were birth certificates really created? This is what they did.
Right now, I'm going to just read a quote from Edward Mendell House and what he had to say in a private meeting with Woodrow Wilson, president between 1913 and 1921, from the private papers of Woodrow Wilson. Quote, "Very soon, every American will be required to register their biological property in a national system designed to keep track of the people and that will operate under the ancient system of pledging. By such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda, which will affect our security as chargeback for our fiat paper currency. Every American will be forced to register or suffer not being able to work and earn a living. They will be our chattel, and we will hold the security interest over them forever by operation of law merchant under the scheme of secured transactions. Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivered the bills of lading to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent forever to remain economic slaves through taxation secured by their pledges. They will be stripped of their rights and given commercial value designated to keep us a profit that will be none the wiser. For not one man in a million could ever figure out our plans, and if by accident one or two would figure it out, we have in our arsenal plausible deniability. After all, this is the only logical way to fund government, by floating liens and debt to the registrants in the form of benefits and pledges. This will inevitably reap us huge profits beyond our wildest of expectations and leave every American a contributor to this fraud, which we will call social insurance. Without realizing it, every American will insure us for any loss we may incur, and in this manner, every American will unknowingly be our servant, however begrudgingly. The people will become helpless without any hope for their redemption, and we will employ the high office of the president as our dummy corporation to foment this plot against America. Having established plausible deniability, even if people become enlightened that they had a remedy and pursued it, the attorneys, judges, and legislators could claim that they did not understand the people's claims, especially if the technical requirements for achieving it were not followed pursuant to statutory requirements. Requiring the public schools to teach civics, government, and history classes out of federally approved, politically correct textbooks written by the publishing houses owned by the owners of the Federal Reserve would assure that the people would not discover the remedy for a long time, if ever. I would recommend that everyone read Fruit from a Poisonous Tree by Melvin Stamper, M-E-L-V-I-N, Stamper, S-T-A-M-P-E-R. That is Fruit from a Poisonous Tree. This is out of Chapter 2 of Fruit from a Poisonous Tree.
There you have it, folks. Another book.
You can use copper pyramids to heal your body. You can create a copper pyramid. You can put your seeds underneath the copper pyramid, and it will help them germinate quicker, and they will also be much healthier. You can also put food under a pyramid, and it will preserve itself indefinitely. This is a fascinating one. Les Brown talked about this. He put food underneath a pyramid and above a pyramid, and he noticed that it would preserve itself indefinitely. So you could take like an egg, crack it open, put it in a pyramid, or place it above a pyramid, and it will preserve itself. And if you want to bring it back, you just put a little water on it. This was the work of Les Brown. He understood that we could use shapes to heal, preserve our body, preserve the energy, the aura, the essence of everything. You even saw copper vinyl records. Copper vinyl records before plastic. Statue of Liberty, copper. Buddhist monk temples, copper. You see copper all over the place. So why would we not be doing things with copper? It doesn't make any sense.
There we go. That was good stuff. I'm gonna try that.
We get all the sandwich stuff for the kids' lunch. They don't like turkey anymore.
Yeah, I know.
What about the bananas?
Yeah, I got them too. But, honey,
What?
you're gonna have to put those eggs back.
They don't like eggs anymore?
No, they like eggs, but we have to set that $7 aside for killing Palestinians.
What? I mean, don't we give Israel $4 billion a year anyways?
Yeah, and now we're giving them another $14 billion. Do you know how much that is per American taxpayer?
No.
It's like $85 per person. Apparently, it's costing us a lot of money to drop bombs on Gaza.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Don't they get universal health care too?
Yeah, they do. We're paying for that too, probably. Might as well put the bananas back.
Why the do we have to pay for all of this?
Don't cuss at me.
I'm Cenk Uygur, and I approve this message. Let's save lives together at cenkforamerica.com.
Facts galore. Good one. Oh, that was it, guys. That was it. I guess we can talk a little charts and whatnot before we go. Little NASDAQ here looks like it's hanging on for dear life. Let me zoom that. Give me a second, guys. All right. So yeah, the market looks like it wants to start taking a move lower, but still has some upward momentum. Market is pretty chunky. I'm saying, and when you look at the market last time, it had a really nice decline and momentum down here. So that's what we'd be looking for. Dollar looks like it's just getting ready to rip again. At least that's what it looks like. Let me get rid of this damn line. Yeah, it looks like it's going to keep trending upward. So back to 105, 106 again, which should put pressure on risk assets, which kind of helps augment the slight decline in momentum, right, with the upward projection in price to kind of highlight some impending negative divergence. And I don't know if I told you guys, but yeah, Chinese stocks are you got to buy those now. I forgot what it was I saw. But yeah, it was basically a green light for Chinese stocks. So if you're into, maybe ETF in that thing, it's a good one. Like long-term hold that bad boy. Maybe a year or two, probably a great trade, great 3-year trade. Because they've been, Chinese stocks been getting smacked for like 10 years. Not well known, but if you look at this is mini Hang Seng index futures, just other Chinese stocks. But look, this is 32,044. This is April 2008. 33,469. That was the most recent high in January 2018. We're down at 14,000 or 16,207. So that's 50% discount from the all-time high. Right, this is probably the average of the two. If you 32 divided by 8. Yeah, this is the halfway point. So that's probably a good buying point, man. You know, just on a basic mathematical perspective, because it didn't just crack that 50% level. You know, it found it once, came back, found it again, and it's finding some support there. So just the way markets work. But that's one of them. This is the enterprises index, and it's not as long, but as you guys can see, it's just down and to the right. Not up and to the right, but down and to the right only. So, you know, this is a nice, if you got a 401k or whatever, where you got access to international shit, you know, that's a good one you might want to consider long term. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just the way it works, man. Roll with it. You can always exit it if you don't like it in 6 months, you know, whatever. Now, if we look at these other currencies, it looks like they are going to reverse their downtrend, which is opposite of the dollar. And this is just another way to confirm what you see on the chart, right? Although it doesn't look like that's the case here for the pound, but it could hold those moving averages, right? And that would end up being the case, and it roll higher. Canadian dollar looks like it's still sloppy and choppy before taking any action there. Jeez. So one thing I hate about that indicator is it fucks up the way my charts look. And I hate doing all this crap here. Not a fan. All right. Euro, same look. Yen is just bleeding. You know, this is just a function of the cost of crude at this point, because crude is really, you know, is running and gunning. It's back at $78. You know, I was just looking for 77, but this was way back in the day. But we ran up, ended up going to 78, 79. So, yeah. Swiss franc also just kept dumping, just keeps dumping. So it's reversing all that heat that it was putting on the market, because as I've explained before, this is a risk barometer, and it was going sky high, right? And if we zone out, it's been sky high multiple times, and every time it's sky high is during a risky economic scenario. You know, December 2020, right? December 2019 is literally opposite of where it was December 2020. So that's just a function of that and how that works for the Swiss franc, and that's why I'm always looking at it, just so people can understand. Nat gas $1.60. Like you can't sell nat gas to nobody. Apparently nobody wants it. So if you can get your car to be retrofitted for nat gas, you save tons of money. And that's common in my country, so it's not like it's not possible. It's possible. Just gotta find the parts to make it happen. And what is this? Gasoline. You know, when you go out on the road, it seems like it's pretty cheap right now. I don't know what's going on, but it doesn't really look like that in the chart. Weird. Maybe prices have been so high, I'm just jaded. I just can't tell what's expensive anymore. All right, that looks just like gasoline, copper. Jesus, these fucking charts, man. You know what? Let's get rid of this here. Indicator. Boom. $5 days per candle. Man, it looks like it's holding the bullish trend for now. For now. I mean, yeah. Momentum is subsiding to the downside, which typically means we're riding up, and then you have the distribution showing the same kind of motion because this is a high volume point of control here. Meaning there's a lot of trading activity happening here, just like we saw down here. But we're up here now, so we focus on this area. And typically, what this profile shows, if we zoom in, is a selling imbalance because the majority of the activity that you see in this distribution is red. And I highlighted it specifically. The settings are set up specifically so that it's obvious. And then I don't got to think about it. So, yeah. Important stuff. Gold getting played with. And this is what's going to end up happening to Ethereum and Bitcoin right here. Because you got to ask yourself, how the hell is gold only $2,000? All right, 2030. How? When we know all they do is print the fiat. I mean, it's not even a secret, you know. Everybody and their mama know it. So, give me a second, guys. And these are like the type of things you guys got to realize for anybody that's excited about these ETFs or whatever have you. Like, they're not positive. They're very negative. Because what's going to happen is the only time it's going to move is when they want it to move. You know, reality be damned. And your market expectations be even more damned because they're irrelevant. So those are the facts for the day. You know, when you look at corn, and let's look at corn, multi-year lows, right? Like if we put it on a daily and we zoom in from 2022 to now, like we're back at November 2021 prices, December 2021. So are your costs that, you know, down at that level? Probably not. Oats, around the same deal. That reminds me, I gotta head up to the supermarket. I'll be eating oats, man. Can't grow them here in New York, so fuck off. This actually looks like a good area to cop. Man. This is a soybean meal. Shouldn't eat anything soybean though. It's all GMO stuff. Rice looking expensive. Soybeans looking like it's hitting that cop me zone as well. Yeah. We shall see. A lot of things lining up for a buy on that one. Yeah. Wheat looking crazy as always. That's something to watch. Could definitely slip and roll over and puke further. Wheat is well known to just cause immense amounts of pain. So, yeah. These are all the spreads. Not going to go into those. But that's the short of the long of what is the macro picture. Interest rates are going up, and you can see that by prices going down right now, which is in trend, right? If you look at the overall picture, let's put a 5-day per candle, right? Rates been going up since March 2020, and they saw some type of bottom here in October 2023. Now, what the market should is that we should get a pullback such that
The market pauses around here, 116, 114 area, marking a shallow retracement here in the momentum area of the chart. And that shallow retracement should basically be something like that. Except for that, it's happening after a really deep dip, right? Because it's down there. It's like 5 Z scores and shit. So if we do get a nice dip, something like that is what I expect to happen, which is like a big move off of that. But we'll see. Because, I mean, everything is so crazy right now. It's really hard to say what can happen because fundamentals dictate price. And sometimes something alters a trend. You know, that happens sometimes. So you can't really stick to your guns like that in the market. You got to really be street smart. You know, you got to know when to cut when to cut it. You know, when the trade is no longer any good. Because things change and there's nothing wrong with that. You just make money the other way. Who cares? So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. And race is important, right? Because race is a function of how bad things are going to be. Right? This is why we focus on race for so long. Because that's what determines the cost of everything. And if what we've been seeing over the past, let's say, 6 months is a reduction in the increase in the cost of living, right? Because that's basically what we're seeing right now in the streets. Some kind of reduction in certain consumable items. I'm not talking about like durable goods and shit. I mean like, you know, things you need to eat, things you need to survive. You can wash clothes by hand. You don't need a washer or dryer. Sorry. Like that's not what I'm talking about. So, you know, if rates continue lower, again, I foresee a pause in this area if there is going to be a retracement to come back down here just to fill up this imbalance, because that's kind of how markets work. You know, they go from one to another, or it's like a mop, right? You got to clean up one area, come back, clean it again, go back, clean it again. And this is kind of like what you see. You know, markets, they move in waves at a certain point and then come back and then retrace and then come back and yada yada. So since the expectation is now that we're on an uptrend, meaning we're going to see lower rates moving forward, you got to expect a pullback to buy, right? Like that's what the logic should be. And it seems like the best area is around this 116 and a half and lower to just start looking to see what the market's going to do. And that's just the idea of how you should look at markets, right? Because you really don't know if something's going to happen where, let's say, something happens where the Fed's not going to be able to cut rates. Like whatever they thought they were going to do, they just ain't going to be able to do it. Because the last time they did nothing, they stood fast. You know, matter of fact, let's pull up the rates before we roll out. Fed funds, where you at? Right, that thing is just it's at a fucking standstill. They acting like that thing don't exist. You know, you're just leaving it. And it's just been there this whole time. And that's just all they're doing. They're not cutting anything. If they're cutting anything, it's like a prime rate or a discount rate or something, anything except the Fed funds. They're not cutting this. And this is what the market really works on in many facets. So you got since August 2023, that's now 6 months locked in 5.33%. And the rest of the market is trying to figure out what the hell is going on, right? Because they got to rely on them. That's just how it is. Yeah. So look, this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. This is that shallow dip that precedes a skyrocket move. And if you look back in time, probably gonna see that again somewhere here. Yep. Something like that, but it just doesn't look the same over here. But you got a skyrocket move right after that. Here, skyrocket move off of this level after that. So you know, it's same idea, different scenario, but similar outcome. Because that's just how markets work. You know, they're the same no matter what. And that was the what was that? The 2-year Fed fund. So the 2-year Fed funds right now is saying that the Fed is 3 cuts behind, meaning that the Fed funds should be at 4.5%. That's what that's saying, and it's currently at 5.33. So, how does this matter to your crypto pocket? Well, let's see what these clowns are doing over here. Let's see if they're even keeping it in any kind of lockstep. Pulsex 5095 daily. I really hate this site. It's just trash. So it looks like Pulsex is in some type of uptrend because it's making shallower and shallower pullbacks. So it never came back to retest. All right, it just kept going. And it only hit the 38% level. And that's all she wrote. And that was early in the year. I don't think I had looked at crypto since then. Since the last time I looked at that, and I did that before then. Inc. 318. Yo, and I told people to be buying this shit this whole time, and people didn't want to hear me though. So there you go. Shit was a 30 cent, 40 cent. But it looks like we had a nice, hopefully we got a nice dump, man. I wouldn't mind a nice dump. You know, I'm the consummate RH coin bear. I always want them prices on the ground because I always want to be able to buy at the lowest prices. 1 + 1 is 2. You know, it's not hard to figure out why. Yeah, dump that hex, baby. Dump it. That's what I'm talking about. That right there is what turns me on if you're interested in knowing. That's it. So anybody thinks they're hurting my feelings by talking shit to me about the price of hex, you're sorely mistaken. You are very, very wrong. I bathe in that shit because I understand how to count. So I'm all good. I'm looking for EHEX just to see what that's looking like. And I don't want to have to type it, but looks like I'm gonna have to. Too many shit coins. 0.009. Alrighty. Fair enough. Not as cheap as I was hoping, but we'll take what we can get. Man, too many shit coins. How many now? 8,691 shit coins. Take your pick. Now let's see. Only 53 of them have liquidity greater than 100,000. And that's 53 tradable pairs. As you probably understand, a lot of those pairs are the same pairs. So, yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys' time today. Thank you guys for tuning in. As I stated before, understand that the purpose of this stream is to help people realize that there's a lot more going on out there than we think, because our world is bigger than our own little world, you know. So Yeah, be easy and steer clear of the shit coins. The only thing that helps Hex is people buying Hex and staking it. Peace.
Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest. That's it. That's the secret. The Godwell told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. Shit, motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. Man, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Y'all deep. Everybody.